Hello everybody, it's Lou here from Yarnistry, and today's video is going to be a little bit different to the usual offerings in that it's going to be very calm and very quiet and hopefully relaxing. I really hope it will be relaxing, but we'll see. Now, I wanted to talk to you all today about the bothers, and I have shown you a kind of a sneak peek of the bothers before now, and I got a really great response. I was so pleased. I was so pleased with the response, and I wanted to kind of give you a bit more of an in-depth look at them, really, so that you could get to know them the way that I do, and so that you could hopefully have a moment's peace to think about things and to not feel so stressed. So first of all, I wanted to explain, for those of you who haven't seen the first video, what the bothers are and what they represent to me and hopefully to others. Each of the characters that I create are supposed to represent a different part of our emotions, a different part of the sort of mental health lives that we lead, and they're the parts of us that we perhaps don't like so much, the parts of us that bother us, the parts of us that make us uncomfortable in our own skin. Things like worry, grief, insomnia, stress, doubt, guilt. All of these things are negative, and all of these things are what we don't want to be experiencing, ideally, ever. But we don't always have that option. I wanted to create these characters as a way to represent those emotions in an external way, a way that has it separate from our body, that keeps these emotions outside of us and separates them from who we are as people. And I wanted to make them cute because I wanted people to be able to relate to the kind of vulnerability of these tiny creatures and to realize that they themselves are tiny vulnerable creatures and that they need to look after themselves in the same way that they would want to look after a bother. This particular one is Worry. He is very cute. Look at his little worried face. He looks very sad and very worried and very stressed out. And he has this kind of anime style stress sweat bead to try and represent his inner struggles. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about worry today, and I wanted to make this video for a while, and I was waiting for my fingers to heal first, but the problem is that the reason behind why my fingers are damaged in the first place is actually probably quite relevant to the topic today. And I wanted to talk to you about that. I didn't want to initially, but I've decided that I will. So, when I become stressed, I tend to pick at myself. It's a sort of strange subconscious self-harm that I have, where I pick at my skin. And they're normally covered in some sort of plasters because I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the hygiene side of things. I like to keep myself and my vulnerabilities separate from the people that I know and the people that I deal with on a daily basis. So I keep them covered up. I usually claim that I've cut myself while chopping carrots or some such rubbish like that. And initially I was going to wait until they'd healed, and I was going to make sure that my hands looked as lovely as they possibly could before I did one of these videos. But then I thought, that's part of the problem, isn't it? Trying to project this perfect image of ourselves, that we're not damaged or imperfect or flawed or blemished in any way, shape or form is part of the problem. It's part of why people feel bad about themselves. And so I didn't want to, but I decided I would be a little bit vulnerable with you guys today, and obviously I didn't want you seeing my gross wounds, but I did want to show you that actually, we're all a bit loopy, aren't we? Now, worry is the most useless emotion in the world. Truly, the most useless emotion, because it does nothing. It serves us in absolutely no purpose whatsoever. And the problem with worrying excessively is that it damages us. It damages our brains. It damages our bodies. It makes us unwell. And it makes us vulnerable in a way that is not helpful. According to the grand wisdom of the internet, worry refers to the thoughts, images, and emotions of a negative nature in a repetitive, uncontrollable manner that results from a proactive cognitive risk analysis made to avoid or solve anticipated potential threats and their potential consequences. Worry is described as a response to a moderate challenge for when the subject has inadequate skills. And it turns to be problematic if one has been excessively apprehensive more days than not for the last 6 months or more. How clinical. How clinical is that? When I think about worry, I think about it being this great weight, this great impending doom, this heaviness. I don't think about it as being the result of a proactive cognitive risk analysis made to avoid or solve anticipated potential threats and their potential consequences. I don't know about you, maybe that's just me. The response to excessive worrying is not just a mental issue. It becomes a physical one too, which then further exacerbates the problem because you end up in a cycle where you feel stressed, tired, nauseous, confused, breathy. You feel like you're struggling to breathe. You feel like there's a band, a tight band, all the way around your middle, or all the way around your chest. You get headaches. You end up struggling to digest your food. And your heart rate goes completely bananas. It's a result of releasing too much cortisol into your system, which is the stress hormone. It's a bad, bad hormone. And there are so many things that come with it that make you very uncomfortable indeed. And there's very little about it that's good, really. It serves no purpose nowadays. Our ancestors would have been running from potential threats, large animals that were trying to eat them and so on. And this prolonged state of fight or flight and self-awareness and awareness of one's surroundings would have been incredibly useful. But not so much now. So we just get this excess build-up of stress and adrenaline and cortisol and all the things we don't need in our system, and they eventually begin to wear away at us and make us feel very heavy indeed and very wobbly. And that's a concern. So what we want to do is eliminate that worry and realise that actually it's not very useful. It's not very useful because if you worry about something and it doesn't happen, you've wasted your time worrying about it. And if it does happen, the worrying isn't going to help. there are a few different ways that you can be more mindful of your worrying, be more caring to yourself, and only really worry about the things that matter. You can set aside some designated worry time, a short period of the day where you can let yourself be worried about whatever you wish. You can switch off from being online so much because, quite frankly, the internet's a depressing place full of people presenting their best lives, the best versions of themselves, and making you feel like your problems are not fair and like you're being victimized by the world, when actually we all have the same problems, the same issues. And you don't want to see the news either, because my goodness, isn't it depressing? You never hear any good news. You could be more mindful of yourself and your surroundings, be more mindful of the things that are good, the things that are positive, the things that aren't scary. You could write your worries down. You could keep them in a book. You could burn them. You could put them in a jar and throw them into the sea. And keep your hands busy and your mind occupied with a craft of some kind. Crochet, knitting, sewing, embroidery, quilting, felting, ceramics, painting, drawing. You can make time for meditation. You can think about all the things that you're thankful for that make you happy. You could sit and think about dogs, because everybody loves dogs. You could sit and think about the trees, think about flowers, think about the rushing waves of the sea. You need to accept that worry is a part of your life, a positive part it is not, but it is a part, and it happens to everybody. And it makes us feel a little bit wobbly from time to time. A bit like this guy, who does stand, by the way, but he's a little bit unstable on purpose. I wanted to end this video with a song that I feel is appropriate. Here's a little song I wrote. You might wanna sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. In every life we have some trouble, but when you worry you make it double. Don't worry. Be happy. Ooh. Ain't got no place to lay your head. Somebody came and took your bed. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy. I realise that this video might have been very dull and very repetitive and boring perhaps, but I really hope that you fell in love with this little guy just the same way that I have. I think he's wonderful, and I really, really hope that the message of these guys gets across. I would really like to make 1 million of these things, and in an ideal world people will take to them and fall in love with them and see them for what they are, which is a disembodied version of the things that plague them as much as they do, and to see something so small and so cute dealing with the same problems that you have, I think puts it into perspective that you need to look after yourself too. You really do. I love you all very much, and thank you if you got this far, because it means a huge, huge amount to me that you've sat and listened to me ramble. There's birds outside. Take care of yourself. Try and think about the positive things. Your family, your friends, your home, the warm food in your belly. And don't worry about everything, because the bad stuff might never happen.